Niche down, niche down, niche down. This is what you're gonna hear non-stop the moment you decide to start making content online. In this video, we'll cover why niching down is not always the best advice, and we're gonna take a look at alternatives. For example, if you take a look at this stunt double from Hollywood, who by combining two very separate skills, managed to secure one of the most desired jobs in Hollywood. We're gonna take a look at that in a second, but this idea of going against the concept of just niching down is not some hippie method, it's something that actually people are getting rich from. If you're curious to see examples, we have people like Danko, Ali Abdal, Captain Sinbad, Iman Gaji, and there are many more, of course, but these are great examples of people that are making millions without the need of a very narrow, specific niche. I have personally invested thousands of dollars in learning from some of these creators to understand how to better build a personal brand. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the lessons that I learned from them, as well as the lessons I learned from making YouTube videos for the past 13 years. I've tried a lot of different things, and I believe that the personal brand approach, going a little bit broader, not necessarily niching down, is the best approach for long-term wealth. And by the way, this video is going to be great for you if you're interested in growing a personal brand. If, in the other hand, you don't want to show your face online, yeah, this video is not going to be for you, but you are in the right place if you hate the idea of constraining yourself to a single niche and instead you want to go a little bit broader and cover more about the things that you care about, right? Because I really believe that if you follow the niche down approach, in the long term, you're just gonna get annoyed at it. If you niche down too much, you might accidentally end up building your own prison. You might end up sacrificing the very first thing that you were chasing, which, in my opinion, in my case, I chase and I pursue a life of wealth and abundance, but without sacrificing freedom. Freedom is a massive thing that I care about in life, and if you're like me, yeah, the things that I'll share in this video, I think you'll find them very valuable. So when you create content online as a personal brand, what is the alternative of niching down? That is what we're going to explore in this video. We're going to cover things such as skill stacking, interest overlap, and something that I like to call niching back, which we're going to get back to this, right? But why is even niching down so popular? I believe that this was probably the best way to go about it a few years ago, but especially with AI, if we take a look at creating content on YouTube in particular, very niche channels are being constantly replaced by AI faceless channels. So if you find that the type of content that you are interested in making could easily be replaced by a faceless AI channel, then it's time to reconsider things and bring more of the human element to the table. And for those of you that know a little bit more about entrepreneurship, you might be wondering like, wait, but niching down is more profitable. And I'm not gonna disagree with that because you can still have very niche products, but the whole theory behind these ideas and the lessons that I learned from these successful personal brands is that you can have very niche products, very specific things, but the idea that I'm advocating for is you as a personal brand, as a person putting yourself out there, sharing your ideas, it's better to be broad. It's better to attract a wider audience covering your various interests, and out of that, the people that end up buying from you is gonna end up being more profitable. The reason for that is, let's just do a quick example of math. Let's assume that we have Carl, right? He builds websites, so he is launching a course on how to build websites. And let's say he has two paths, and one path is he has a channel with 100,000 subscribers. That's really nice. He makes tutorials, like he attracts a lot of people that are interested in learning how to build websites, and let's say that 5% of those people of the 100,000 end up buying his course on building websites. So let's say 5,000 people end up buying from him, right? Okay, 5%, that number is quite high. Now let's consider the other path where he doesn't just make website tutorials, but instead he talks about broader topics and just do a bunch of things that attract a wider audience. So let's say that way his audience has increased. Before it was 100,000, but now let's say he has an audience of 1 million. And obviously not everyone in that audience is gonna want to buy the course, but let's just assume only 1% of those people end up buying from him. That is going to be 1% of 1 million. That's already 10,000 people. By comparing the two different paths, we've already doubled the amount of people willing to give money. And let's just assume that the pricing of the course is the same in both cases. There's a lot of variables here, of course. So in the first alternative, right, this guy, we just call him Carl, like he is competing against other YouTube channels who make tutorials on website building. So maybe it's just quite hard to scale his audience beyond 100,000. Not impossible, but maybe a bit too difficult. Versus if he has a broader audience that people like him for his various interests, and maybe he introduces a lot of people into why learning to build websites is a valuable skill, he's going to build that trust. He's going to be harder to replace because people are there for Carl. They're not just there for website tutorials. He can attract people that maybe weren't part of the market looking for website courses. He can bring them onto that world. So that brings the question, how do you compete within a broader market where the people you're competing against maybe are very famous, very rich? Let's just take a look at an example of, I don't know, let's say you just want to go as broad as like self-improvement as a whole. Maybe you might be like worried, like, am I just competing with Tony Robbins? And if you're not familiar, Tony Robbins is like the top guy that I could think of making probably the most money out of self-improvement. And he's not only just famous, but he has hundreds, if not thousands of people working for him, and he can just outspend anyone trying to compete with him. So how do you stand out? And that reminds me of the quote by Naval, which is escape competition through authenticity. So what does that mean beyond, oh, just be yourself? That's where some of the strategies that I'm talking about come to play. Skill stacking, interest overlap, and niching back. So let's break it all down and let's start with skill stacking. The best example that I can think of is this guy, William Spencer. He's a Hollywood stunt double. So imagine competing against thousands of stunt doubles who all want the same jobs that you want. How do you stand out? In the case of William, he was good at parkour, but so is every other stunt double. So that there wasn't anything too special about him. How is he gonna stand out just by doing parkour? He also was good at skating. Again, there's gonna be endless amount of people that are also good at skating that want to do stunt work in movies. And that's where William Spencer said, like, wait a second, okay, some people are good at parkour, some people are good at skating. How many can do both? And more importantly, how many can do parkour on top of a skateboard? By stacking these two skills, he created something new and he became quickly irreplaceable. His competition drastically reduces, right? To the point that if a Hollywood producer just wants someone who can do parkour on top of a skateboard, he's just gonna Google it and he's quickly gonna find, oh, okay, yeah, William Spencer is the obvious choice. And that's exactly what happened when the producers of Spider-Man were looking for a stunt double for Andrew Garfield. Because there's a scene in The Amazing Spider-Man where Peter Parker, as he discovers his Spider-Man powers, he is skating and he ends up essentially doing parkour and like crazy weird stuff on top of a skateboard. And William Spencer was obviously hired straight away. And that's how you manage to stand out in a sea of competition, by being authentically yourself, by combining the skills that you already have to bring something unique to the table. That is the power of skill stacking. Another strategy, kind of similar, but this one is one of interest overlap. So if you're making YouTube videos like the one that I'm doing in here, for instance, or you write a blog or a newsletter or something like that, the idea is how can you bring your other interests and make them interesting to your audience that maybe are not familiar with that particular topic. As an example, let's say that you make content on entrepreneurship, but your audience isn't really too familiar with the idea of going to the gym. Maybe actually someone in your audience might hate the idea of going to the gym, but they're very much into entrepreneurship and they're just saying like, no, yeah, I mean, I just want to work on my business. But if you introduce them, I mean, considering that you are interested in both things, if you introduce them to the idea of how the gym, how building muscle and how being active and healthy can help them in their entrepreneurial journey, now you might have brought them into a new interest thanks to you. You are expanding their horizons. You're sharing your experience to enrich their lives. And what's cool about that is that way you end up building more trust, which as a business, obviously trust is exactly what you want to build. And if you as a brand keep it a little bit broad, but you have your specific thing that you sell, again, you're just bringing people from different perspectives, and anyone that wants to go deeper into one particular topic can literally pay you to learn from you, whether that is with coaching, a program, some course or something like that. Another great aspect of the interest overlap is that as you're watching content. So as a really great example, there's this YouTuber called Andrei Jik, right? He seems to make like finance videos, but kind of like a stock market kind of stuff. And I usually consume more like entrepreneurship based videos. And this was a bit different. Either way, I clicked on it and this guy, what he did is he started doing card magic at the beginning of the video and he was good. And I normally wouldn't have watched his videos, but I also was very much into card magic. I mean, it's something that I practiced for years. I had a few gigs here and there. That's something that I did in the past. And I was like, okay, this guy's really good. We have that thing in common, and it made me like him immediately, even though I normally wouldn't have watched his type of videos. And that is the power of bringing together different aspects of yourself, and people can resonate with that, and for that reason they'll end up liking you and trusting you more. Great, so we already covered skill stacking, interest overlap, and I did mention a third one. This one I call niching back. So the more I was thinking of alternatives of niching down, I literally just started playing with the words niche left, niche right, niche up, niche down, niche forward, niche back. And what this means is creating content for your past self. Imagine if you had a time machine. Imagine you could go back in time and talk to your past self about the things that you know now. Imagine how incredibly valuable that is. Imagine how valuable it would be for you to speak to your future self right now. Unfortunately, this is not possible, but you can play that role for someone else. So by you right now talking to your past self, which is literally what I'm doing right now, like I'm literally envisioning my younger self conflicted about these ideas and wanting to have a bit of clarity on how to approach this niche down advice and what is the alternative. So how can you talk to your past self in a way that you really feel you're helping that person? Because the person on the other side of the camera might be struggling with the things that you've already overcome, the things that you already have a bit more clarity than them on, and you can help them and you can act as that future version that they wish they had access to. So niching back is literally talking to your past self, trying to help that person, and there's gonna be someone out there who is like you in different areas of life, who is gonna appreciate the value that you have to give, the advice that you have to give, the lessons that you learned so far. And what's great about the idea of niching back is that if you are making content for your past self, that means that you can also bring your different interests. You can do the interest overlap thing, you can do the skills overlap thing, knowing that there's people like you that are gonna resonate with the authentic parts of yourself. Literally everything that you are interested in today, your past self will be curious about. I mean, that is the idea. So just treat your audience as if it was your past self who has a curiosity for the sorts of interests that you already have. And this idea of niching back is just so much better than niching down, because niching down is usually constrained to a particular topic. And if we take a second to just really understand what is even a niche is just a small group of people within a larger market. And the way that people recommend niching down is by a topic. If you make videos about websites, stick to that and nothing else. But that's not always the best approach, because what if you just get tired of that sort of content, if you just don't want to do it? Niching back gives you that permission to still target a subset of the population, but you do it by attracting people who are similar to you, who in a sense are your past self. Right? You niche back, you target your past self. There's gonna be people that fit within that criteria, exactly that criteria, because we're not as unique as we wish we were. There's gonna be someone on the other side of this camera who was searching for this advice but couldn't find it anywhere. And that is my past self. So that is you. It's not even necessarily about being younger, it's just like being at different stages in different areas of life and how you can share the things that are valuable to the person behind the camera. And if you end up doing this correctly, you'll attract what is known as your 1,000 true fans. This idea of the 1,000 true fans comes from a very popular blog post that, entrepreneurs and content creators love, because it's the idea that if you can attract 1,000 people that genuinely like you and trust you and they're willing to buy from you, that can already become a sustainable living. And you can bet that there's more than 1,000 people that think like you, that would appreciate from the type of advice that you're giving your past self. And what is so great about niching back as an approach towards creating content is that it never gets boring, it doesn't get dull, because as you keep evolving, your content evolves with you. As you keep changing and being interested in new things, you give different advice to your past self. And as you move through life, your content evolves with you. And the reason why your content needs to evolve is because content creation and business is what's called in game theory an infinite game. The definition of an infinite game is that the only way to win and the only rule that you need to follow is keep playing. As long as you keep playing, you keep winning. It's like a relationship. It is like marriage. Like the goal is not to get married and you win. The goal is to remain married, or health, or I don't know, like going to the gym, right? Like that's a good example. Something that I've been doing for the past 2 years consistently, and I'm not where I want to be yet, but as long as I keep playing, I know that I'm winning. So the moment I give up, that's when I lose. Just keep playing. And that is what business is like. That is what content creation is like. If you can make it sustainable and keep playing, you are winning. And niching back is the best approach to make your content evolve, because if you target your past version of yourself, he's gonna be interested in whatever you're interested in. So this gives you a nice freedom to know that as long as you are targeting that particular person, that past version of yourself that it can help, you can move on and go through your different interests, develop different skills, knowing that as long as you're authentic about the things that you want to share, you're gonna keep attracting that group of people that want to get into the things that you're currently interested in. And if you do this in an authentic way that is true to yourself, you're gonna end up building this trust that is gonna flourish and transform into a profitable business where you can sell the things that you want to sell, you can develop the products that you want to develop, because now you have people that support you. And it's so much better than sticking to one niche down topic, because if your topic dies down over time, the interest just goes away, you're done, right? You can't keep playing the infinite game. So the best game you can play is the game of being yourself. I know it sounds cheesy, but you gotta become a specialist in being yourself. That is how you become irreplaceable, by bringing the different areas of who you are to the table. You can allow your content to survive the competition over time. You can survive AI faceless channels that are trying to replace your particular niche, because if you niche back, if you target the past version of yourself, you're gonna remain unique, you're gonna remain irreplaceable. I hope this video inspired you to take action on your best ideas, and if you want to learn the best way to organize all of them, I highly recommend you take a look at Tana. This is a futuristic note-taking app with the most advanced AI features that you're going to find anywhere to manage your projects, your tasks, your meetings, and so much more. If you want to learn it the right way, I have a comprehensive program designed to teach you how to make the most out of Tana so that you can become as productive as you possibly can be. If you're interested, take a look in the description. Hope to see you there.